Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the beginning of a series that I first thought of back in 2017. I pitched the idea, you guys were all about it, you guys kept asking about it, and honestly, it just kind of slipped under the rug for a number of reasons, right? One, life got in the way. Two, I didn't think it was possible. Now, what did I think was impossible is this right here. So I'm going to be playing Dead Space on impossible difficulty, which is the hardest setting of the game. And I'm also going to be doing the one gun achievement. So for those of you that don't know, one gun is an achievement in the game where you have to beat the entire game using only the plasma cutter. And the plasma cutter is the first weapon you get. It's essentially the pistol. Now, don't let that fool you. In most games, the pistol is the weakest weapon. Not in this game. The plasma cutter is arguably the best weapon in the game. But it's one of those really interesting games where certain weapons are better against certain enemies. So to go through the entire thing with only one gun, there are times where that's advantageous, and there are times where that's going to not be the most efficient approach. So, regardless, that's what I'm doing in this playthrough here. I'm doing impossible difficulty, one gun. Now I know what you're thinking. Nick, that sounds like a pretty big challenge, right? To go for both of those achievements at the same time? What are you thinking? Possibly you couldn't do anything more reckless. Well, clearly, you don't know me very well, if that's your thought. Because on top of all of that, I'm also going to be playing through the game taking 0 damage. Yes, no damage the entire time. So, in essence, this is a 3-element playthrough. This is impossible difficulty, one gun, no damage. You're going to be hearing me say that at the start of every video. You're going to see it in the title of every video. So you might as well get used to it. But anyway, guys, we're finally here. Like I said, this is an idea that first came up in 2017, and I just honestly, you know, like I said, life got in the way, but on the other hand, I didn't really think this was possible. When I pitched the idea, I immediately remember regretting it because I thought, oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that because now people are going to want to see it, and I don't think I could do it. But lo and behold, we're here, and I purposely waited until I finished the entire thing to record this commentary because I wanted to make sure I could do it. And so I'm happy to say that it's done. All 12 levels of the game have been recorded, and now I'm going through adding my commentary. And so, in this first video, we're going to kind of set things up. Believe it or not, the first level of the game actually does have quite a couple challenging sections, and that's kind of amplified by the fact that we're just getting our bearings together, so we don't have a lot of ammo, we don't have a lot of resources, whereas later in the game, you'll actually find that things aren't so tough because we have a ton of ammo, and we have a lot of money to get the ammo we need whenever we need it. Like I said, that'll all come, but for the first video here, we're going to kind of just, we're going to kind of introduce the series, and I'll talk about my process of filming this, and I'll talk about what you can expect. So this is Dead Space. This is one of my favorite games of all time. This is the first horror game that I played, and I had to put it down. I couldn't even get through the first level. Back when I played this as a teenager, I had never played horror games before. I wasn't a big horror fan at the time. And I straight up got through half of level 1, and I said I can't do it. This game is for insane people, and I'm putting it down, and I'm never playing it again. And for a while, that was true. But then I got older, I experienced more horror games, and there came a point where I said I kind of want to revisit Dead Space, so I did. And then I ended up getting all of the achievements for it, which required, you know, beating the game on Impossible. And then it was in 2017 I did a Let's Play that you guys really seemed to enjoy. And now I'm back once again doing this challenge playthrough. And keep note that I'll be calling it playthrough a lot as we go. So, you know, I've made this distinction a lot on the channel that a walkthrough and a playthrough are two very different things, right? Or actually, I guess you could categorize it as all walkthroughs are playthroughs, but not all playthroughs are walkthroughs, right? So a walkthrough is meant to be efficient and helpful to the mass majority of people watching, and a playthrough is just a playthrough. It could be a walkthrough, it could be a let's play, whatever. Now this is kind of a subcategory. This is what I call challenge playthroughs, because sure, I'm playing on the hardest setting and I want to be helpful, but let's be honest. First off, this game is really old, so I doubt anyone's really playing it anymore anyway. But two, most people are not going to do impossible and one gun at the same time, right? That's just kind of something I'm doing more for fun. Now, some people might do it, but most people wouldn't. Most people would do one gun on easy and then impossible. And so that's why I kind of hesitate to call this a walkthrough, because I just feel like it's not going to apply to the mass majority of gamers. Regardless, call it what you want. I'm going to be calling it a challenge playthrough because in my mind that's exactly what it is. I'm playing through the game. I'm imposing 3 challenges simultaneously, and at the same time, I am approaching this in a very strategic manner. I want this to be a walkthrough, and I want it to be as helpful as possible for anyone playing the game on impossible difficulty. And so that kind of leads me to my next point, the preparation. I want you to know what I put into these videos. So I basically have 2 Xbox profiles. One I was playing through on easy, and the other was for impossible. So for every level of the game, what I did is I first played the level on easy, just to learn the layout, learn where the enemies spawn, just to get my bearings. Then I went to the impossible save file, and I played the level again on impossible. I didn't really care about no damage. I just played through it to kind of get a better feel for how the difficulty was going to spike from easy to impossible. And then it wasn't until my second time playing through on impossible that I actually recorded the footage that you're seeing now. So every level in this series basically had 3 playthroughs that went into it. An easy, a practice round on impossible, and then the real deal. So I definitely put a lot of care into this. I truly believe I came up with probably the best strategies you can come up with in this game. And ultimately, I'm very proud. I am very proud of what you're about to witness. And I'm very excited to show it to you. This is just a fantastic game, and I feel like I truly kind of dominated it and put my own little twist on it. And I can't begin to stress how much fun I had recording this. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, everything you just saw up till now was just kind of the intro cutscene of the game. Now we're going to be faced with our first kind of danger. So you're going to come in here, and you're going to load the damage report, and we're going to see, that room will lock down, and we're going to see a necromorph come down and kill the good old red shirts in there. And then we're going to have to run. We're going to want to run through the door that's currently on my right, or now it's behind me. And we're just going to run down a series of hallways until we get to an elevator. There will be a necromorph right behind you, and parts of the ceiling and the walls will kind of like spray down and fall, and Isaac will get stunned if you're in the wrong position. So if you take too long, the necromorph can hurt you. But if you see here, I'm going to kind of stick to the right side of the wall, and the first piece of debris is going to miss me. But then so right there, that was what hit me. But then you saw right there, that one I missed, and now I'm kind of sticking to the right, and I'm just going to run. Don't even bother turning around. Just run. Even if you get hit by every piece of the ceiling or the wall, the necromorph probably won't catch you as long as you keep moving. It just stuns Isaac, and it's really more of a suspense type of thing. Like, unless you stop dead in your tracks there, the necromorph's not going to get you. It's just meant to make you worry. And also, an important thing to notice is when I got hit by that piece of like ceiling coming down, it looked like Isaac got hurt, hence I would have taken damage. But if you look at my back right now, you can see that I still have full health. So just know that that does not actually damage Isaac. It's the same thing. I think at maybe one point in this playthrough, a necromorph like falls from the ceiling, and it's essentially the same thing. The fact that he falls on you stuns Isaac, and it looks like you take damage, but you don't actually take damage. So I think that's just something worth noting. And like I said, if you're not familiar, that blue bar on Isaac's back, that's your health. So that's kind of the indicator here. Now we're going to open this door, and there's going to be a necromorph right outside. So you're going to kind of take a few steps back and then just put him down. I'll talk a lot about, I'll have a lot of time to address this, but one of the beautiful things in this game is what makes it different when it comes to enemy combat. So in most games, you're taught to shoot for the head, shoot for the torso, shoot for the head. That's the most efficient way to kill an enemy. In this game, that's actually not the case. In this game, it's all about dismembering the limbs. So the standard procedure for killing a necromorph is shoot the legs, let it fall down, and then it'll start crawling towards you, and then just shoot off one of the arms. Now, typically, a standard necromorph, you only have to shoot off a leg and an arm. Later on, once we get to the advanced forms, which are like blue and black, those ones you'll probably have to shoot off 3 or 4 limbs. And again, every enemy can be different, but generally speaking, that's the way things work. Now, I want to address something right here since we have the time. Normally in my walkthroughs, I will edit out, or I won't edit out, but I'll kind of cut the cutscenes and not talk over them so that you can enjoy the story. In this case, that's not going to be what happens, and that's for a number of reasons. One, this is just a different type of project, and it's something that I would rather just continuously talk over, because that's what I prefer to do. Two, the game is incredibly old, so the story at this point, I mean, if I was playing a game that just came out last week, sure, I would try to leave the story in there, but that's not the case here. The other thing, though, is Dead Space does this unique thing where there's really no formal cutscenes. Like, all the cutscenes are kind of like what you're seeing right now. Isaac will be talking to someone on that blue screen. But you can still move around, you can still aim your weapon, you can still fire your weapon. So they're not really formal cutscenes, and so that's another reason why I just feel like it's not necessarily, mandatory that I don't speak over them. Because what it's about is I'm just not really interested in sharing the story of this game with you guys. I'm just interested in sharing this experience. Now, when you come here, we're actually going to go right, but before you do that, just to make your life easier now, you're going to have to do this anyway, like after the next objective. There's some money on the other side right there. You're going to see a body on the ground right here, and you're going to want to shoot its leg, and you're going to see that it's actually not dead. It'll stand up, so just like I talked about earlier, pop the leg off, pop the arm off, and then you saw right there I actually had to pop both arms off. And that's another important point, is this isn't 100% reliable, but most of the time, even on impossible difficulty, when you kill an enemy, it'll drop something. It'll drop ammo, it'll drop health, whatever. And you want to look for that, because a lot of times this game will try to fool you, and it's going to make you think that you killed the enemy, but then when you go up to it, it's actually still alive and it'll hurt you. So when you're shooting an enemy, pay attention until you see something fall out of its body, and that's your indicator that it's actually dead. Now, like I said, it's not 100% reliable, because obviously not all enemies are going to drop supplies. And then also, sometimes you're going to be fighting multiple enemies at a time, and you can't really focus on that. You got to be worried about where the next enemy is. So it's not a 100% reliable strategy, but it is something useful that will come in handy a lot. And speaking of coming in handy, I just picked up the stasis module. You can see the controls for it right there. Essentially what this does is it slows down objects that you hit with it, and needless to say, that is an incredibly important tool to have, because the enemies in this game can move very quickly. Sometimes there are a lot of them. You can get very easily overwhelmed. So having that ability to slow enemies down, I mean, I honestly can't even stress the fact how important that is. It's a necessary strategy. If you want to get through this game, you're going to be relying on your stasis module a lot, and so you're going to want to upgrade it to the full capacity. And that's something I'll talk about a little later, but in this game you can make upgrades, and my general strategy here is going to be, I'm going to upgrade the plasma cutter first, I'm going to upgrade it fully, then I'm going to upgrade the stasis module, and that's really all you need. But then since I was still picking up power nodes, which are what you use to make upgrades, I also decided to upgrade the kinesis module and everything else. You'll see all this later, but you know, it's just worth noting. Speaking of, here's the power node right here. So these are what those are. These are what allow you to make upgrades. Now we're going to come to this room here. You're going to want to slow down the robot arm. It's gonna grasp on over there, and then you're going to come up to this screen and hit the tram repair. And that's when the first enemy should spawn. So you can see, I mean, you saw him. You probably heard him. He'll spawn on that side, and then just, you know, make note. You see these like metal gratings on the wall with the little fans in the middle. Those are the things that the enemies pop out of. Those obviously can also be on the ceiling. Now another one's gonna pop out as you get closer to the corner here. You can see I'm just kind of taking it slow because I know he's coming. It's just a matter of when. Believe it or not, this is one of the rooms that I found to be kind of inconsistent, which is surprising considering it's at the very beginning of the game. But almost every room in this game, the enemies are very consistent in their spawning, and that allows you to kind of strategize beforehand exactly where you're going to stand. But there you go. So I was waiting for him. He kindly came out. And then you'll notice I used the stasis module. And you can see right there just how easy that makes combat. And now, so only 2 enemies should come out of this side, and then another one may or may not come out of the other side. So you just want to... This room I recommend just kind of taking it slow. Because like I said, the enemies do seem to be a bit inconsistent here. But here we go. I'm going to do the second tram. You can fill up your stasis right there. And then I'm just kind of standing here in the middle because I'm waiting to see is an enemy going to come out of the left or right. And so obviously the best place to stand is in the middle since I'm not sure.
You did it. The tram is blocking the whole system. When you get the computer
But
online,
it turned out and no enemies came out, and I only had to fight 2 because I'm pretty sure I was able to make it out of this room without killing another one. Oh, nope, there we go. Okay, so I knew there was 3, and he'll pretty much always come out of the left. So I just used stasis again. Completely unnecessary. I only used it, 1, to kind of show off the ability, but 2, there's a recharge thing right next to me. Anytime there's a recharge near you, I mean, just feel free to take full advantage of the stasis. Now, up above me, you're going to see a new type of enemy, and we're actually going to fight him in the next room. But before that, I'm going to save my game. I like to save my game pretty frequently because there are checkpoints in this game, but there are no autosaves. And so if you quit or if the game crashes or whatever, it doesn't matter if you got a checkpoint. It didn't autosave, so I just like to save my game as often as possible. Now here's another stasis recharge. I'm going to be using it again. Because once you get about halfway down this room, you're going to see a necromorph come up from the floor, and then you're going to see a crawler, is what I call them, spawn at the end here. So you can see these guys are pretty fast. I missed the stasis 3 times. So that's a perfect example right there of the game just quickly overwhelming you. Like, you can imagine, had I not killed the necromorph in the back first, I would have gotten overwhelmed right there, and I would have probably gotten killed. And again, I didn't mind using all that stasis because there's a recharge center right next to me. But that's it. There's only the 2 enemies there, and now we can keep moving on. Now, a final point I want to make, because we are about to get to kind of a difficult room. A final point I want to make is, believe it or not, doing this no damage playthrough in a lot of ways actually helped. And I know that sounds really odd, but if you watched my Resident Evil 4 no damage playthrough like a couple years ago, it's kind of the same thing. By not taking any damage, I'm able to sell all of the health items I pick up. And by selling all of those health items, I'm able to buy more of those power nodes, which means I'm able to make a ton of upgrades. So look in my inventory right now how much health I had. I'm just going to sell it all. I'm just going to sell it all first chance I get because I don't need it. And all of that money I'm going to be able to use on more important things. Now when you come out of the elevator here, you're going to want to kill the necromorph that spawns right in front of you. And then you're going to want to immediately turn to your right, because another one's going to be coming over here. So we're going to kill him. Now you'll see this red cylinder on the floor. I'm going to shoot that. Now, my hope there was that that explosion would kill both necromorphs, but it didn't seem to kill the one that was already on the ground. That's okay. And now I'm just going to kind of stand in this location because yet another one is going to come at me. Don't worry about one sneaking up behind you. The only one that comes from the left at this point is the one that approached me right when I exited the elevator. Other than that, this path that I'm on right now is pretty safe. You only have to worry about that first one, and then all of the other ones will come from the direction that you saw earlier. But yeah, just stand your ground there. Try to use that explosion, you know, to be most beneficial if you can stasis a couple enemies. But ultimately, if you can even just kill one enemy with the explosion, that's good. Now, as you come down the path here, turn around, and you'll see another one come out of the wall. That's something the game will do pretty frequently. It's going to try to have necromorphs sneak up on you. And that's where a lot of the practice and strategy came into play. Last one's going to be right here on the right, I believe. Maybe not, but I thought one came out of the wall right there, but I guess not. I think I'm thinking of the second floor, the floor that we're about to go up to. Before that, though, I'm just going to keep picking up items. Now, obviously, your inventory has limited space, so you're always, especially this early in the game, you're going to want to prioritize ammo over health. But anyway, get ready here because as soon as these elevator doors open, a necromorph's going to sprint at you to the left, and you're going to want to stasis him. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's going to happen on our way back down. The necromorph here is hidden under a pile of human bodies, and so you saw that because I knew he was there, I simply shot him, and no harm, no foul. So the game is tricky, guys. I'm telling you, necromorphs will try to sneak up on you. They'll hide under dead bodies, and you'll think they're dead. But like I was saying, all of the practicing and planning that I put into this, that's why, so that none of those things would trick me in the long run. Now, as you approach the end of the path here, a necromorph is going to spawn out of the wall. So put him down. That guy took a bit more ammo than most of them. But yeah, when it comes to inventory this early in the game, definitely prioritize ammo over health. But if you have room for health, pick it up because you're going to be able to sell it later, and that's going to help us make upgrades unbelievably fast. Okay, so little lag right here in the capture card, but a necromorph is going to spawn at the end of the hallway on the right, and so you'll see that I took him out. I'm going to apologize in advance for any hiccups in the capture card. It's old, my computer's old, and I also haven't been recording a lot, so it's a bit rusty. I truly hope that it doesn't interfere with a lot of the gameplay, but as you saw right there, it definitely kind of cut out like 2 seconds. Now right here, this is what I was talking about. As soon as these doors open, a necromorph's going to charge you, so make sure you stasis him. And then I'm actually just going to run. I'm going to run straight past him. To the left up here, another glitch in the capture card. It's probably going to happen more in Chapter 1 because, like I said, I hadn't recorded in a while, and so the capture card was rusty. But yeah, I'm actually just going to run straight past that necromorph and then come into this room here. The enemies should not follow you in here. I don't think I've ever had one follow me. And now right here, this is the upgrade bench. So these are where you use your power nodes to make upgrades. And like I said, I'm first going to only focus on the plasma cutter, and I'm primarily going to focus on the damage. That's the first thing I want to upgrade because obviously we're playing on the hardest setting, so damage is kind of the most important thing. And now, so once I pick up this objective here, now we can leave. We can leave the room, but there are going to be a number of necromorphs outside, and this part can get a little tricky. And so you're going to want to, you know, make use of the fact that the necromorphs won't follow you into this room. So notice how right when I stepped out, a necromorph hopped over the railway there, and now it's running away. It's really cool. The enemies in this game have these like pre-programmed routes where if you're in a room that the game doesn't recognize as a combat room, the enemy will go all the way back to its spawn location, and that's something I'm going to take advantage of a lot. So right here, I'm going to stasis the first enemy. I'm going to stasis the enemy on the ground. He is alive, obviously. That's why I stasised him. Now I'm going to run in the elevator. Now it's very important here that you have at least one stasis shot left, because this part is pretty neat. So watch this. An enemy is going to spawn right in front of me. I'm going to stasis it, and then I'm going to run for it. Now there's a real important reason why I run for it here. So watch this. Here he comes. Stasis, and now immediately run and don't look back. Now the reason is this game does something that's also very unique. Another thing. When you just decide to run past enemies, a lot of the times they'll still end up spawning in the next room. I've never seen a game like that, because there are a lot of games, survival horror games, where you could just run from the enemies and then you'll never have to worry about them again. But what'll happen in this game is if you run from enemies, they'll go back into the walls and they'll spawn in front of you. And so right there in that past section, remember how I ran past like 3 enemies? I just stasised all of them. When you exit that elevator, they'll all start coming out of the wall right in front of you, and there's no way you're going to be able to kill them all in that close of a vicinity. So that's why you just want to stasis the first guy and then run for it. And I know what you're probably thinking. Be careful here as you're turning these corners. But, oh, never mind. I don't know why I did that. But, you know, I know what, you know, one question you might have, and it's a fair question or a fair point, is a lot of people will sometimes say, oh, I don't like how you run past the enemies. It's more fun to fight them. Sure, you can say that. I disagree with it, but you can say that. But this early in the game, you're going to be really low on ammo. And it is just imperative that you save ammo wherever you can. Now, later on, that's not going to be much of an issue. But early on, it's just incredibly important that you conserve ammo as much as possible. And so running past enemies is obviously the best way to do that. But guys, we're almost done. We're almost done with Chapter 1 here. So you're going to see that enemy hop into the wall, and that's when you're going to kind of let your guard down, because you're going to say, oh, cool, I don't have to fight him. But be careful, because another one is waiting for you right around the corner. And then while you're killing that one, the other one is going to spawn behind you, but I actually just decided to run, again, under the guise of conserving ammo. But he will spawn behind you, so try to get out of there fast. And then luckily he won't spawn in this room. The thing I said earlier about enemies that you run away from spawning in front of you, it doesn't always happen. I don't know why, but it doesn't always happen. But I know earlier at the elevator section, it does happen, because I witnessed that firsthand during one of my practice playthroughs. But yeah, guys, so like I was saying, the fact that this is a no-damage playthrough, in a lot of ways, actually really helped. Because I'm able to sell all of this health very... I'm able to sell all of the health, and so that allows me to purchase power nodes really quickly, and that allows me to make upgrades really quickly. Now there's going to be a crawler here that spawns above you, so notice how I just barely peeked my head out of the doorway here and then kind of retreated back, and that was so that I didn't get caught by the crawler. And now I'm going to hop back onto the ship. But yeah, to give you kind of an example, the plasma cutter, the pistol that I'm using, I'm going to have this thing fully upgraded, I think by Chapter 4. That's pretty fast. And that's really the main thing. That and the stasis module, those are the main 2 things you want to upgrade. Everything else is kind of optional, but I'm going to do it anyway. The only thing I don't upgrade is the health capacity of the suit, because obviously it's no damage, so that doesn't matter. Now right here, you know, pick your poison. If you want to try to run past all these enemies, go for it, but it's going to be kind of tough. So what I like to do is at least kill the 2 necromorphs. And then you're going to see a crawler over there on the right, and you're going to see another necromorph spawn in front of me. And so this is where I used a stasis to kind of freeze the necromorph. I tried to freeze them both, but it didn't work. But if you can at least freeze the necromorph, you can probably easily run past the crawler. And likewise, if you can freeze the crawler, you can just shoot the legs of the necromorph and then run around it. So it's not terribly difficult. And honestly, that's one of those parts where if you have to stand your ground and just kill all 4 enemies, It's not the end of the world. But if you have the chance to save ammo, like I said, I definitely would take it. But another thing right here, so you'll notice that was, I actually don't think I needed to do that, but that's another point I want to make is if you ever come across a large health and you don't have room for it, you might as well drop a small health and then pick up the large, and that's because the large sells for like $5,000, and that's a lot. That's a ton. That's half of a power node. So, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. But guys, we're basically at the end of Chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're looking forward to the rest of the game, because Lord knows I am. It's a lot of fun. This was a very rewarding challenge, and I'm very glad I did it. But ultimately, we got a lot to go. We got 11 more levels to go. One thing that's really cool about the game is each level is designed to be about 30 minutes long if you know what you're doing. So you're going to see almost all of these levels I get through in almost exactly 30 minutes, give or take a couple minutes. But I think that's really cool because that shows really good game design. When a game can be that consistent, I think that's pretty interesting. So anyway, you saw right there, I sold all of my health items. Earlier I picked up a schematic for the level 2 suit, so I'm going to go ahead and buy that. Buying the suits, I mean, technically it's optional. You do get more health, but obviously that doesn't matter to me. But you also do get more oxygen capacity, which will come in handy later. And plus, they just look cooler. Every suit looks cooler than the previous one. So, I don't know. Why the hell not? Like I said, you're going to see that even though early on here, like I just bought a power node right there with all the health that I sold. Early on, sure, resources are scarce, but as we go, you're going to see that that really is not a problem anymore. I'm going to use another power node here, and then I'm going to hop on the tram, and that will end Chapter 1. So guys, I want to thank you for watching. Please let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I can't wait to hear your feedback, your remarks, and I will see you in the next video.